Buenos nachos, and welcome to another edition of Countdown to Kickoff. I'm Chris Dotson, your host, and we are here in the press box in Catoosa, Oklahoma this week, getting some last-minute stuff and preparations going as I'm here for a Thursday night game, and some of you guys will see it on Friday. So we've had some very interesting takeaways from this week, last week, and going into next week, where we're starting to really shape up for who's going to be in contention for playoffs. So when we come right back, we're going to talk about some of those, and we're going to talk about some of the previous play, some of the upcoming matchups, some of the standings, and much more right after this.
There's no place like home. Whether you live in Oklahoma, Arkansas, or Missouri, Realty Mart USA is your go-to real estate company for residential, commercial, agricultural, or land. We believe in strong connected communities and sponsor local events. Realty Mart USA, supporting our communities, supporting our future.
Now let's go back to last week's scores. When we come right back, we're going to talk a little bit more on the roundtable, some new subjects coming up that kind of open up your eyes.
We are computer science pros, chemists and health professionals, mathematicians, and science educators. We are the Greg Wadley College of Science and Health Professions at Northeastern State University. Choose from degrees in health and pre-health professions, mathematics and computer science, and more.
And welcome back to Round the Table here. I am joined again by our own Southern Sports Network head play-by-play analyst, Stephen Blackiston, and ESPN Radio, and also the voice of the Springdale Bulldogs, Zach Arns. Gentlemen, how you guys been?
Fantastic. How about you?
I can't complain. Even if I was, no one's listening to me, so it doesn't matter. Stephen, what's going on, guys?
I hear you.
Yeah, not too bad at all. Ready to get into it. We're darn near the closing stages of the season. It's flying by.
That's right. We are past week 6, going into week 7 here pretty soon, too. So that means playoff pictures coming up. And I'm going to make some graphics for that one, see how everything is lining up, where everybody's at, because we've seen some very interesting things going into conference play. We've seen Lincoln that looked like they were mighty strong, kind of falling into the 500 category, but we'll get into that one later. Well, gentlemen, this week's topic is, I think, something that Stephen has brought up, which is a great topic. So many things can come out of this one. Very simple question, though. Should kids today play only one sport, or do you think they benefit more by playing multiple sports? Stephen, I'm going to let you go and take a crack at this one first.
Yeah, so that was something that I was talking about with some friends of mine recently, and when I was growing up, the way I was raised is I played played football, played baseball, played soccer, played basketball, played these different disciplines of sport, did track, and did field events through that. And I believe, just to, the way I was raised, my background, my family's background, that playing multiple sports is a great thing. It keeps you engaged all the way through the calendar. And it teaches you different skills that you can use in different sports. It teaches you different motor skills that you can put forward towards different things. I do, see an argument for wanting to only do one sport. You can put all your time and all your effort into it. First thing I think of are, youth baseball kids or youth baseball parents with their kids. They're traveling every weekend of the summer, going somewhere to play in some tournament. They, splash a bunch of cash on all this equipment and pour all this resource into just baseball. For instance, to see if their kid has what it takes to, be really good into high school, get a look maybe into the pros or into playing college baseball at some level. So
Here for tables.
kids to baseball at some level. So I can see both sides of it, but for me, I think there's just so much to come out of being able to play multiple sports. You get just so many different things, whether it's physically, socially, or mentally, out of having a multi-sport experience.
You bring up a great point, though, traveling baseball. And that's a whole subject we can get into, probably should get into sometime, because I can only imagine, I haven't gone through this, but I've had friends that are traveling baseball parents. They're gone all the time. All their resources are poured into just traveling baseball, and they're gone to a lot of different places, which could be good, bad, and ugly. Zach, what's your take on this particular subject, though?
Well, I come at it from a couple of different angles. I'm going through it now, and it's not just travel baseball that's causing issues. Basketball is a year-round event, and that's what I'm going through with my daughter. She plays junior high basketball. The time commitment let me back up. The obvious answer to the question is yes. They should play multiple sports, experience multiple coaches, and multiple experiences. It rounds off your experience. The reality is these kids don't have a lot of time. And these sports now are full-time jobs. I look at my daughter's schedule, 6 a.m. she's got basketball practice all day at school. Then she's got weights and conditioning. She comes home, does homework, goes to bed. That's a full-time job. She works more hours than I do for sport. So from that perspective, I don't know that that playing multiple sports at the junior high and the high school level is feasible. You might be able to get 2, but you're certainly not. The days of kids playing 3 is going to be very, very rare. The cost is, some of these sports are cost prohibitive. Baseball is a very expensive sport. Basketball is a really expensive sport. $300 for a pair of shoes. That's 2 shoes. Not 2 pair. That's 2 shoes. You're paying over $300.
One right.
Because that's what yeah, exactly. And that's some of that is cost prohibitive. Now there's programs that'll help you out with some of that stuff. But when I look at my daughter, she was approached about playing volleyball. She's really tall. She plays basketball. She was approached about playing volleyball. But in her particular school system, you only get 1 athletics period. So she's forced to make a decision at 12 years old that, well, I want to play basketball and not volleyball. And it's tough. I mean, Chris, you and I are a little bit older. Steve, probably went through this. But 40 years ago when I was playing youth sports, I played 3. I played baseball, basketball, and football. And the 2 never crossed. Nowadays, I can't think of you guys all know coaches. I know coaches. I can't think of a coach that's going to tell his star quarterback, hey, man, go play basketball, go play baseball. I'll see you in August. Skip our off season, skip spring practice. I'll catch up with you in August. Coaches are selfish. The dirty little secret is they don't want their star players playing other sports because they want them doing just their sport. The kids need to get a more rounded experience. I agree, but I don't think it's feasible any longer. As competitive as some of these sports get, at the smaller schools and the lower levels, you'll have kids cross over. But at the upper levels, look, Buck James is one of those guys. You're either with us or you're not. He's got very, very few crossovers when he was at Bryant, and I'd imagine it's probably the same way at Conway.
Very interesting. And you do bring up a great point. Smaller schools, you do have some more availability depending on the situation. If you're in travel baseball that's outside of the school, that could be a positive problem, of course. But if it's scholastically, you're right.
Yeah, and I use my daughter as an example. I mean, she made the team in March. They started practice the next week, and they practiced every week until school started. And then her first period is basketball. So she's been at it since March the 1st.
Wow.
And their season starts in 6 weeks. So it is a full-time commitment to get these kids to play one sport, let alone multiple.
Do you think that poses a burnout situation, especially a kid that kind of grew up from, sometimes you're starting elementary school. I know when I started football, I started in the 3rd grade, way back when. And of course, now you've got them up in the 1st grade, even kindergarten. Just, they come out of the womb. Here's a football. Here's a flag. Go play. But these days, it's a little bit different to when we were growing up. It was mainly scholastic. You had those programs that did not overlap. And if they did, it was like maybe a couple weeks here and there. But like you say, it's a bigger problem now because you've got all those starting earlier and earlier and earlier now. Do the kids get burnt out? I'm worried about that too, especially in travel baseball. I see a little bit of it myself.
Yeah, I mean, you see it in basketball, you see it in baseball, because it is a year-round sport. I'll use an example. Our left tackle at Springdale, Terrence West, he's the center on our basketball team. Well, he's missed the entire offseason with the basketball team because he's been getting ready for football. Now, he's 6'8", 280. He's going to have to slim down to about 240, 235 pounds to play basketball effectively the way Jeremy Price wants him to. And, I even look at my daughter's face. I mean, she's been exposed to the band this year, which she loves. And these are things, I mean, Stephen, you didn't go through high school all that long ago. I mean, all the things that are starting to happen for you at that age, they're throwing multiple things at you, and you may want to go try this, but I've got this year-round commitment to a particular sport hanging over my head. They may not get to, they may turn something down simply because of peer pressure.
Right. Hey, and that's another thing. I was listening to a radio show. I can't remember which one it was. It might have been 98.1, the Sports Animal, a couple of months ago, and they brought up a point that, and I don't know how valid it is, but their opinion was we're starting to see less and less productivity out of kids that were playing travel baseball and travel sports to compete at a higher level. And you're starting to see a lot of kids coming in from South America to play baseball, and they're killing it. And you would figure, hey, we've got these kids that have been playing since they were out of the womb, and they've been on this rigorous schedule all these times and learning all these things. What happened? Stephen, what do you think?
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that. We have at my day job with the minor league baseball here in Northwest Arkansas, we have a lot of people who have kids that are of age that are going through the youth baseball scene. And I remember having a conversation with one of them one time. He's like, it really is pointless, the travel baseball stuff. He's like, all they care about, the people who run it, are games. Play as many games as you can, as much as you can, play games. You're not teaching them, fundamentals or skills or anything like that. It's all about playing games. It's all about going to tournaments and things like that. And that, I think, is probably why that topic got brought up, is because while yes, you do learn a lot from playing a game in a live environment, you still also need that teaching and that coaching element and that aspect to go with it. And that was the conversation we had about it, is how maybe some of these local Bentonville Parks and Rec or Springdale Parks and Rec activity groups that have baseball or do their own sports, those players might be better off versus some of these kids who go and do something with perfect timing or any of those where they're just focused purely on doing games and doing tournaments all summer long.
Very interesting. Well, I guess we'll have to see how things kind of plan out on this one, but I do like the smaller schools just for that reason, where you can have a little bit more availability in time and kind of dictate your own schedule and have that choice, that I honestly like the side of playing multiple sports. I did it as a kid myself, and there's so many intricate details that you can pull from one sport and use it against another, and of course mine, I love football the most. But there's so many lessons that you can get from basketball, from baseball. We've seen it with some of the quarterbacks coming out, including Kyle Murray and some of the others too. So let's get into this week's pick'ems. Some very exciting games, honestly, this week because the matchups I think are awesome. So first one, Bentonville at Fayetteville. Stephen, take it away.
Yeah, so this one I think is definitely going to be the main event of the 7A West this season. The joke, I have a friend of mine, a close friend of mine, who's a Fayetteville grad. He says, the joke is always Bentonville will win this one or win conference, but Fayetteville's always worried about state. I do think that pattern probably continues, at least for now. I think Bentonville will get the dub against the Purple Dogs of Fayetteville. They have been in many years previous. So I'll go Bentonville Tigers.
Bentonville Tigers. All right. Zach, what do you think?
Yeah, Bentonville's funny. The numbers change, or the names change, but the numbers all stay the same. They're Old Man River. They switch, a group of all-stars leaves and they bring in the next group, and it's pretty much the same. This is the de facto championship game in the 7A West. Bentonville's coming off an 84-0 win over Rogers Heritage. Fayetteville's defense has shown some holes here in the last couple of weeks, and we had a huge upset last week when Bentonville West knocked off Rogers. So those two teams have separated, and the winner of this game is going to be the 1 seed coming out of the West. I don't think Fayetteville can stop Bentonville. If Bentonville's defense shows up and can slow down Drake Lindsay, I think Bentonville will win the game. I think it'll be comfortable. I think they'll win by 2 scores. I like Bentonville to win that game. They've gotten better as the season's gone along. They had a stumble early, but they're rolling now. And Jody Grant's got them where they need to be, getting ready for a big game.
Outstanding. Ozark at Gentry, Stephen.
Yeah, real quick, one question I do have for Zach on that last for the Bentonville Fayetteville game. Over under that game is going to be 4 hours.
Just if you're lucky, if you're lucky if you're home by midnight, because that'll be a game where they throw 150 passes.
Oh wow!
But for Ozark and Gentry, this is a game that I think has some fairly serious seeding implications. I don't think either of these schools are going to touch Elkins, as we've talked about ad nauseum over the course of the season here. But it's an interesting game. This has kind of been the bogey game for Gentry the last 2 seasons. Now that Ozark has been in the 4A1, this has sort of been the hurdle that they have not been able to get over, and it sort of knocks their season off plan. They start out well. They have a good winning start, and then they peter out towards the end of the year. I do think, though, that trend probably will continue. Ozark does look very complete, looks very physical. They've taken care of business against everybody so far in the 4A1, and I don't think that'll change on Friday night. It is in Gentry. It is a long drive for Ozark to come up to play the Pioneers. But I really think this is a sneaky sort of mascot rivalry. You have Pioneers and Hillbillies going against each other. I think something's got to give there.
I want to see the actual mascots finally sometime, because I haven't seen any mascots from either team, and it'd be so easy, honestly. They got to get it together. Anyway, Zach, what do you think?
When the calendar turns to October, you never bet against Ozark. Something happens when they get into conference play. They become incredibly difficult to beat, home or away. They understand playoff drives and getting into the playoffs. I think Ozark wins the game. I think it's going to be close. I think Gentry can put up some points, but I think Ozark will win the game.
All right, let's move on to the 5A West action. Harrison at Alma. What do you think on that one?
Yeah, this is an interesting game, more so for Harrison than Alma. You look at the 5A West standings right there, and there's a log jam between a handful of schools at 1 and 2. Alma this year, I think, has been a pleasant surprise. I don't think really anybody saw this out of the Airedales this year. 3-0 the first 3 weeks of conference play. Them and Shiloh were tied. Harrison, you look at Harrison, you look at the games they've played. They should have beat Farmington. They kind of did a full-on Mario Cristobal Miami against them in the last 90 seconds of that game.
Yeah.
But I think that Harrison can take care of business. They play an incredibly physical and aggressive style of football. They just wear opponents down. They got a quarterback and 2 running backs that basically can play fullback or tight end at a bigger school probably. So I imagine that Harrison is just going to grind this game out. The weather's getting a little bit colder. Those hits hurt a little bit more. I think that they're going to give Alma their first blemish on the season. And if that were the case, I think that really shakes up the rest of the 5A West standings as it brings that pack closer together for that 2, 3, and 4 seed.
All right, Zach, is it going to be the Mountains or is it going to be the Riverside this year?
Well, Harrison's going to try and play bully ball. They're going to take the ball and they're going to come right downhill at you. 2 tight ends, those big backs, big quick quarterback is over 200 pounds. And Coach Key's just going to try and run you over. And like Steven said, it's going to be body blows and wear you down and try and get it into the fourth quarter. Alma is slowly developing into one of the most exciting offenses in 5A. Jackson Daly is a guy it's one of those Where's Waldo games. You better know where he is every single snap. If you don't, he's going to burn you. Passes, he runs the ball, he throws it. He does all of this. And I think he's the most dynamic player Harrison's going to see this season. I think Jackson Daly and Alma get it done. They have circled this game. This is a game that they want, and they got it at their place. They'll be fine. They're going to win the football game.
Okay, moving right along to NCAA. Last week, it was a lot of fun for me being a Sooners fan because we knocked off Texas. Man, that was a date that was circled from last year, and I can't be more relieved. That one was a tough game. But let's go to the Pac West now. The Pac-12, I'm sorry. The number 8
It's not the Pac-2, but, hey, whatever we're going to call it.
Pac Mountain West. Who knows how that thing's going to go down?
Yeah, something.
Something. Number 8, Oregon. At number 7, UW. Now, this one I got to watch several times being an RO for the Pac-12. A lot of fun. But, Steven, what's your take on it?
Yeah, this one should be an exciting one. I think this sort of is the beginning of sort of the legitimacy of the Pac-12 this year. They've started out so well this year. We've had a bunch of teams in the top 25. First, you thought Utah was going to be the flag bearer. Then they've fallen to the wayside. USC looked massively human, and we'll get to the Trojans in a second. Oregon and Washington really haven't necessarily been challenged yet this year, so you don't really know which either one of these have. They do have 2 fantastic quarterbacks in Bo Nix and Michael Penix Jr., both that are going to be playing on Sundays next year for whoever's team. I have a small suspicion one of them could be my Vegas Raiders. But I think Oregon is going to get the victory in this game. It is definitely going to be a challenge to go to Washington and play this game, but I just think Oregon has the ponies, has the kind of culture of being successful, winning these big games, knowing what they need to do. I think the Ducks will fly high on Saturday and sort of cement themselves as the flag bearer for the Pac-12 at this point of the season.
Wow. Now, we got to see Oregon earlier on, at least I did, against Colorado, a really big hyped game, and that was a blowout brought to you by Pampers. But this one, I think it's going to be a little bit tighter. Zach, what do you think?
Well, this is probably one of the best games that we've had in the first 7 weeks of the season. You've got a great quarterback matchup between Bo Nix and Michael Penix. You've got a great head coaching matchup, Kalen DeBoer and Dan Lanningham. You've got an offensive guy and a defensive guy. Coach Lanningham's one of those guys that, he rides that edge, and he keeps that team, kind of at a fever pitch. This is when you need that sort of burst because you're going on the road in Washington. This is the biggest game in Washington's 10 years. This is a massive football game for them. If you haven't seen Michael Penix play, he is, without question, a Heisman candidate and one of the most dynamic quarterbacks. Reminds me a lot of Michael Vick when Vick was running around in the late 90s, early 2000s. Reminds me a lot of him. Bo Nix is just Mr. Steady. Doesn't turn the ball over. This is going to be a turnover game. Whoever wins the turnover battle is probably going to win the football game. I trust Oregon's defense more than I do Washington. I like Oregon to win the football game.
Wow. Well, this is going to definitely be one to watch. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Of course, you got 2 Heisman contenders there, so there's something to that. All right, next game, number 10, USC at number 21. You're Notre Dame fighting Irish, Zach. So, Steven, you take the first one on this one.
It's been an interesting year for Notre Dame. You're like a player or 2 players away from stopping Ohio State. You get a victory against Duke, at Duke that's ranked. And then whatever happened last week was whatever happened last week. I think Marcus Freeman and the coaching staff at Notre Dame, in my opinion, Zach, you may have a very completely different feeling as it's a little closer to your heart. But I feel that this is going to be kind of an inspirational week. There's nothing like washing a bad taste out of your mouth with the defeat of Louisville when you have a top 10 USC come into your place early in the season. You can go and kind of knock their season off kilter, get your season back on track. Yes, probably not going to be a playoff caliber team now because of those 2 losses, but what you can do is you can keep USC from being in that conversation, and you can bring home the jeweled shillelagh, and I think the Irish can do that and find themselves back in the top 15. They're just going to kind of yo-yo between 20 and 15, I think, this year with these wins. I think the Fighting Irish are going to get it done against the University of Spoiled Children this weekend.
University of Spoiled Children, I love it. All right, Zach, what you think, man?
Well, this is 4 straight weeks playing top 20 teams for the Irish, and there's a lot of discontent right now with Gerard Parker, the new OC who replaced Tommy Rees. Play calling is now being called into question. The defenses seem to have figured it out. The one great thing about this is USC doesn't play defense, so we don't have to worry too much about that. Notre Dame's got to run the football, and they've got one of the best defenses in the country. They're an elite level defense, and they're going to have to be on Saturday night, 6:30 on NBC to stop Caleb Williams and USC. USC matches up with them very, very well. Their offense versus Notre Dame's defense. Notre Dame's got really good corners. The safeties, sometimes they get lost in traffic. USC's going to win the game, and I think Notre Dame's going to a second straight loss, 3 of their last 4, and the heat on Marcus Freeman's going to get really turned up if this does not turn around. Notre Dame went cheap in the offensive coordinator category. They elevated instead of going and getting an elite-level guy. I think that's going to change in the offseason. They're going to get a guy that is commiserate with a top 10 team, which I think Notre Dame is. I think Gerard Parker's really their weak spot. Notre Dame can't keep up with them offensively. Sam Hartman's been proven to be a fraud, and I think there's a point at which USC gets 2 scores up, and then the dam kind of breaks.
Kind of hard to swallow on that one, but I agree with you 100%. All right, so for this year, Zach, you're 8-9 so far in your record, and Steven's got a bit of an edge at 12-10. Gentlemen, it's been a lot of fun this week. We are going to head out of here in just a moment. Stick around for the weather, and we're going to get right to the game right after this. Gentlemen, you guys have a great day.
Be good.
It is fall, it is Friday night, and you know what that means. We have an awesome lineup of games this evening for high school football across the region, and we have a look at your forecast for those games as well. Before we get into the forecast, if you're a fan of any of these teams, let us know where you're watching from and what team you'll be rooting for tonight down in the comments. But for now, here's a look at the forecast for tonight across the region. We have 3 games that we're highlighting: the Lincoln at Huntsville, Green Forest at Elkins, and Prairie Grove at Dardanelle. And so these 3 games are going to be a roughly similar forecast for the first 2, but it's going to be slightly warmer for the Prairie Grove game coming up later this evening. But for tonight, really across all of the regions, not a whole lot going on weather-wise except for, mostly clear skies. And then we're going to be in some milder temperatures. Now for the game for Lincoln at Huntsville and Green Forest at Elkins, it's going to be slightly chilly as we head into the evening, so make sure that you grab a jacket, a blanket, stuff like that if you're going to be watching this game. And if you're an athlete, you'll definitely want potentially one of those hand warmers for the sidelines or something like that, just because we do have some gusty winds tonight, and we are going to see those somewhat chilly temperatures at times. We're going to be into the lower 50s once we get closer to the end of the game. But otherwise, pleasant conditions expected across all areas. The Prairie Grove at Dardanelle game, we're going to be at 71 at kickoff, and then eventually we're going to be around 63 around game's end. So it is a beautiful evening for these games. Really, we don't have any sort of weather complications except for maybe some chilly conditions later tonight, but it is going to be a very pleasant evening and pretty much perfect evening for football, except for maybe some gusty winds of around 20 miles an hour. Some gusts could be closer to 30. That's going to be especially to the west near northeast Oklahoma. So for the Northeast Oklahoma viewers, here's a look at the forecast that we have for the next 7 days. It's going to be a chilly start to the week and a chilly end to the weekend coming up in the next couple days. We're expecting lows in the 30s to start off next week, and then we're eventually going to be seeing some high pressure building into portions of the area, leading to a slow, gradual temperature increase once we get closer to Thursday. That's going to be a similar case for northwest Arkansas, where we have rain chances early in the morning for both regions today. That's going to last through at least midday, and then we'll see that clearing out. But for the remainder of the week, mostly clear skies, beautiful conditions, some gusty winds over the next couple of days, close to 10, 20, maybe even 30 miles an hour at times. And then take a look, Northwest Arkansas, we have lows around 37 to start off Wednesday morning, and then a slow gradual increase in temperatures by Thursday, where our high could be close to 68. Hope you have a great evening. If you're going to any of these games, make sure that you like this post and that you, like I said, comment below what team are you rooting for tonight, where are you watching, and also good luck to every single team participating in games tonight. We wish the athletes the best of luck, and stay tuned for your full sports updates, weather updates, and stuff like that with the Southern Sports Network. Have a great evening, everyone.
And that's our show this week, folks. We'll come back next week. We're going to talk more about the playoffs, how everything is going to be structured, who to expect from what placement, and see how everything goes when we come back to that one. So I'm going to send you right down to the field. Enjoy the game.
Hello and welcome to beautiful Eagles Stadium in the county seat of Madison County, Huntsville, Arkansas. The matchup for tonight's action in the 4A1. I'm Stephen Blackston alongside my trusty pal Nathan Henry. Nathan, it is week 7. The weeks are counting down in the Arkansas high school football season, and this game means a lot.
It sure does. I tell you what, you couldn't ask for a better night to play football. 60 degrees, sun just set. It is football weather. These boys are hype, and there is a lot on the line for both these teams.
It certainly is. When the weather gets colder, those hits hurt a little more. Tell us, Nathan, both these teams coming into tonight, what are some things you need to keep an eye out for both sides?
So real quick, keys for Huntsville on offense. I mean, they're going to have to establish the running game. They want to control the clock, eat up as much clock as possible, keep the ball out of the hands of Lincoln QB Drew Moore. Other reason you want to establish the running game is, unfortunately, they've got Colby Phillips, who is out tonight with an injury. He's their top receiver. They need to protect the ball and eliminate turnovers. On defense, they're going to have to stop the pass, eliminate big plays, and create turnovers if they're going to win this game. If you look at Lincoln offense, no turnovers, balance your attack, and they've proven that they can move the ball. On defense, if they stop the run, they're going to put Huntsville in a bad spot to have to throw it.
Well, we'll see how it shakes out this evening. Lincoln and Huntsville. Eagles looking to get their first win since Green Forest a year ago. 0-6 so far on the season. They're going to get the football to start this game in the maroon jerseys, white numerals, and white helmets. Lincoln going to be in the all-white, maroon numbers, and maroon hats as well. As we're just about ready to get underway for week number 7. Back deep for the Eagles is going to be Isaiah Hale, the featured back in this offense. Kicker for the Wolves, Robert Kearney, the junior, set to get us underway. Checks with his team. And we are underway in Huntsville. Hale going to be able to get to it. Muffs it originally, able to get back to the ball. Crosses his own 30, crosses the 35, and about to the 37 of Huntsville. And that's where we're going to see Dax Wiggins in this offense first, Nathan.
Yeah, he gave us a little scare there. Got to field that ball clean, but he made something out of it. So they've got a good starting field position. We'll see what they do with it.
Well, like you said, Phillips not going to be playing tonight in street clothes for the Eagles this evening. We'll see how immediate that impact or that loss is going to be for Huntsville. 1st and 10, Ginson Bourne in motion. Far side of your screen, puts his hand in the dirt. Oh, a little hard count to start, and a check with me on the sideline. 6 seconds on the play clock. Gonna have to get the play off. 3. And they're not going to get it off, Jared. Timeout from Huntsville. Not the start the Eagles wanted to limit mistakes, like you said. A little miscommunication on this first play. Oh, no. They're going to get the delay game. No timeout taken. First and 15.
I didn't see the timeout. So starting off with a penalty. That's one of the keys of the game, right, is to control the clock and eliminate mistakes. And so we'll see if they can get something rolling here.
Well, 1st and 10, just going to be a simple handoff from the gun. Strong run, going to pick the penalty back up. And a little bit more. Eagles going to get to their own 40 on the first play of the game. That's a positive start to the drive.
Yeah, just coming off of last week, Isaiah Hill, again, very hard runner. Running the ball hard last week, and he picks up where he left off.
Well, in the year, Hale averaging 4 and about a half yards a rush, and won't get the average there. Back to the original line of scrimmage if he's lucky, and quickly 3rd down and long for the Eagles.
Yeah, so if you're Lincoln, you want to put them in a passing position just like this, make them throw the ball. So we'll see what Dax Wiggins can come up with.
Just want to let the viewers at home know we are experiencing a little bit of technical difficulties here at the stadium with the internet. We'll try to do our best with describing what we're seeing. But 3rd down, 3 receivers near side. Wiggins rolls out of the pocket, looking downfield, has a man complete cross midfield and into Wolf territory. Zach Cousins gets the reception. Only had 8 receptions coming into the night. Gets number 9 and a big 3rd down conversion to keep the drive alive, Nathan.
Yeah, Zach is a sophomore, and he's a good target for Dax. And I tell you, they used Cooper Shepard to clear that out, opened it right up underneath. Dax, great pass, good play.
Well, that's going to be Caden Brown for Lincoln jumping off sides, and 5 free ones will be going to Huntsville as they try and keep the drive moving.
Yeah, so this is what you want to do, play smart football. We've seen this twice where they've had a hard count, making the D-line jump off sides, and what that's going to do is going to keep them honest.
Wiggins to Hale. Going to fall forward and get to the Lincoln 41. Now they'll give him the 40 to make this close. A manageable 2nd down play. But as a former defensive player, Nathan, when the offense goes hard count, what are some keys that you have to adjust to on that defensive side of the ball?
Well, obviously your D-line, you're coaching them to watch the ball, right? But let's all be honest. You get a good jump when you're timing that quarterback up. When you start jumping off sides, you lose that advantage as a D-lineman.
We'll see if Lincoln makes that adjustment. 2nd and short. Wiggins looks to throw. Blitz comes. It's hit as he throws out of the hands of Cousins. And it'll bring up 3rd and short.
So Jace Burks, great play on defense. As soon as that ball hit Cousins' hands, he was all over him. Had no way of bringing that ball in.
Yeah, that would have been enough for the 1st down. 9.5 minutes in this first quarter. About a 2.5-minute drive for the Eagles to get underway. Big 3rd down play early on. Hale going to get the football, falls across, got the 1st down and a little more. He'll get down to the Lincoln 36 keeps the drive alive. Once again, 2 straight 3rd down conversions.
So if you're Huntsville's coach right now, you are confident in your O-line because they rolled up everybody they had on defense on the D-line. And I'm telling you, their O-line still made a hole. They had 6 or 7 guys on the D-line right then.
Yeah, tried to load the box. This time we'll have 4 hands in the dirt. 2 linebackers there between the tackles. Wiggins going to check to the sidelines. Welcome back to Huntsville. Having some technical difficulties while we were away. Did miss a Isaiah Hale touchdown, Nathan, to get the Eagles on the board in that first drive of the ballgame.
Yeah, good hard running by Isaiah Hale. He was favoring, looked like an ankle injury, and just adrenaline kicked in when he saw the highway he had wide open to the end zone. And then they went for the 2-point, and it was an incomplete pass to Ferguson.
That first drive for the Eagles ran about 7.5 minutes off the game clock as well. That was one of your keys, Nathan. As Lincoln will have the football, we'll get it at about their own 36, as that was Burks on the return. One of the multi-sport athletes for Lincoln. Trey Burks also on the Lincoln basketball team. And this, first time we're going to get to see quarterback Drew Moore.
Yeah, everybody in the stands is looking at him right now. He towers over the rest of the guys on the field.
He hums one across the middle. Won't be enough for the first down, but a strong attempt after the catch from Caden Jobe, also a basketball player for the Wolves.
Yeah, Caden's a big body tight end, it looks like, or receiver. Big